I'm about 10 miles from the Parker Strip in Arizona. I'm in the Planet Mining District, and we're headed to the Continental mine. I'm out on the recently fixed up KTM 1090. The brand new Woody's Wheelworks front tire is holding up pretty well. Had a little air leakage issues before, but I think they may have corrected themselves. Sure hope you can see the horizon out there. It's all different color rock mountains that are just absolutely beautiful. We are also in close proximity to Swansea, Arizona, a ghost town over there. It is probably about 20 miles from here, back in the easterly direction. I've been there before, like I said, and there's a video. I'll link it in the end of the video, so if you're interested, you can go check that out. this is the Continental mine. I do apologize for my slow riding today. I'm nursing a bad back that I've had for a couple of weeks. I spent a couple of days in my living room flat on my back watching my ceiling fan turn and turn for 2 days. And it's been a rough ride for a couple of weeks. So I am still a little sore, but doing much better. If necessary, I will speed up that footage. Really good noticers will have noticed there was a no trespassing sign at the gate on the way in. I don't think that has been part of this facility for a very long time. As you can see, this place is in a shambles, which is really unfortunate. Looks like we've got one trailer here, like a house trailer, single wide, and we've got another some type of box truck over there. Looks like there was some type of single wide trailer over here that burned up. They've quieted down, or it quieted down. There's something squeaking over in that tool shed over there. But as we pan around, you can see mine roads that go up into the hill over there. There are mine shafts, or at least prospects, up in these hills. There's a water tank up there, and over on this side it is just about Swiss cheese with either natural caves or mine portals. It's not my intent to explore every nook and crevice of this place. I'll walk around, see what we can see. There's not a whole lot of history that I could find here other than they mined gold, or they mined copper, but they also found gold and lode silver. So that's where they have a mass of silver and gold in the same ore. So they did strike it fairly rich here, but it wasn't big enough to actually start a town. As I mentioned earlier, this is part of the Planet Mining District. I would assume all of this stuff would have been shipped to the town of Planet or a nearby facility that probably collected everything for here. And it could have been Swansea. Swansea had a mill itself over there, which is, like I said earlier, about 20 miles away. I would explore a little bit more on the bike. That would get us a little bit more range of some of these roads around here, but I'm going to hoof it because there's a lot of debris, and debris containing nails equals flat tires. I'm not wanting to change tires on that today for sure. This looks like a 1960s era trailer. I don't want to go in here because it does not look like it's structurally sound anymore. And we may have a bunch of hantavirus in here. Well, there's a part of a shopping cart. Those homeless people really get around, don't they? There's a swamp cooler and some VHS tapes. Looks like some pirate stuff here. New Jack City. and that one's been worn away. That certainly looks like a hot fire. Luckily there wasn't any vegetation around other than that poor mesquite over there. Otherwise there would have been a raging wildfire here. You can see the frame of the trailer right over there. This mining district started way back in the 1860s. The first explorations here really netted out some good finds, some good prospects, and the people came after that. Even though there's limited information here, what I'm gathering is this was probably somewhere around the turn of the last century, and judging by these newish trailers somewhere in the 1960s, they restarted efforts here, because usually most of these mines were shut down during World War II. The reason why you see trailers here, both house trailers, truck camper, and this camper, is that miners use those as cheap housing. Still today, if you watch the mining shows on whatever cable channel you like, that's what they pretty much use, unless they've got a good production budget. I think in this little area, probably the most interesting thing is going to be this tool shed. How to read shop drawings. I know some people at work that could really use that book. That looks like a seat off a lawnmower. Or maybe that's a lawnmower. All kinds of shop manuals in here. There's not a whole lot left in here. And I still can't tell if that's a squeak or a bird. I'm assuming it's a squeak. Manuals everywhere. 4-liter engine. I would say who was ever out here last had this as some type of shop. It would have definitely been the central tool area. May have been a generator or something in here for the people that were previously here. This would have been like the center of operations for sure. Looking out at the rest of this slab area, this is all concrete slab. Looks like there was something over here, probably another building that's been reduced to just foundations. Surely someone has had their way with this place. There's just, everything's just burned up, and that's too bad. Doesn't have to end up like that. That looks like a holding tank up there. Both fortunately and unfortunately, this is a big off-roading area. Unfortunate part of that is there's a lot of folks, especially in one group set, that doesn't care about well, the history, the nature, or keeping the trails open, because it's just a fleeting experience for them. And you see a lot of destruction like this out in the desert. This is that box truck. Looks like this was the roll-up door end, possibly. and this side was such a hot fire that the aluminum that it was made out of is basically gone on that side, and just a little bit remains of this structure on the left. There's another single wide trailer frame. Man. Let's take a wander up one of these roads here. The one off to my right, your left, will look the most attractive, I guess, for the moment. We'll see what that is. It'll get us a little elevation. Maybe we can take a look around from up there. If you're wondering what a boat is doing in the middle of the desert, I mentioned we're east of the Parker Strip, about 10-11 miles east of the Parker Strip, and there's a little thing called the Colorado River and Lake Havasu not too far from here. So this looks like maybe someone was using it as like a cabin or something like that, but we're not far from a good large body of water. These look like tailings possibly, and then someone was going back through them and seeing what they could find. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that these are tailings that someone was trying to leach out of. I would say probably somewhere in the 1980s or 90s. You see all that PVC pipe over there, and over there they run chemical down on these old tailings piles, and then they collect the gold that the old miners couldn't get down in pools like that. Well, we got a outboard motor cover and a couple more boats, small fishing boat size, but we're probably looking at 1970s, late 70s, 80s, Evinrude. It is a very pretty view for being in the middle of this site, but I wonder if the miners ever looked around and said, hey, this is a pretty place to work, or they were just drudging it out every day. There's that truck camper. Not a whole lot left to it either. Someone must have been looking to see what they could find in there. Looks like there was an old walkway to head down there to the tool shed. Well, let's go walk up the other side and see what we can find there. Well, looks like we've got evidence of burrows. There are a lot of burrows in Arizona and in the Southwest. They were used in the mines in the 19th century and probably into the 20th century. And when they were done with the burrows, they basically just let them go into the desert, and they thrived here. A very adaptable animal, and they do try to control them somewhat. They try to capture and then send out for adoption a lot of the wild burros. They like to keep a population of these things because a lot of people like them, like to see them. The unfortunate thing is, as civilization encroaches on the desert, they get caught up in traffic, and that does not end well for them. This side looks a little bit more promising with more mine related stuff. See how that goes. We are just across the way from that tool shed where we parked. The snakes ought to be just about half woke up now, which makes them half more dangerous than they were when they're awake or asleep, because they can't see and they're not too bright. This journey may be coming to a close soon. My back is acting up a little bit. But definitely I'm looking behind me and actually in any direction, and I'm seeing places to go explore, and that may be a second trip, maybe even a second trip with a side-by-side, and see more of the mining operations out here, of not just the Constellation or the Continental, I should say, the Continental, but definitely more out here. I need to do some more research on the Planet mining district, and I do need to get to the ghost town of Planet. Now the rocks over here kind of brought me over. I didn't notice they were rocks. I was just wondering what the heck they were, but basically it's just river rock embedded in tailings pile. For a second there, we came over the hill. I thought we found Walter White's rig, but it's a trailer. This is about the same vintage as all the other stuff. This is a travel trailer, and it's in the same condition. More manuals. I'm not going to open any of those magazines. This looks like a pump house. Definitely 1950s or 60s vintage. I don't see a door. I'm not going up that ladder. That would not be good for my health. More manuals. Definitely had a fetish for manuals here. Most of the roof structures starting to fall down and come off. There's lots of, you see that white PVC piping up there. They were definitely trying to get whatever the miners left out of the tailings for sure. Ah, a doorway. Level 1 looks like it was another shop, office area, shelving, and manuals galore. Must have had a generator up here for sure. Had some electric fluorescent lights up there. You guys guess what card it is? Put it down in the comments. Seven of diamonds. No prizes for that one, I'm sorry. Well, the DJI overheated. It's about 100 degrees right now. So I'm gonna have to finish this one up on the camera. Got another card there. 10 of diamonds. We're gonna have to turn this thing into a poker run. Well, this is the top of that tank, and you can tell there was definitely a process with all these little maze of concrete walls. One would spill over into the other one all the way down until it got out, and they've got overflow pipes in the middle. So probably whatever they were doing is putting the chemical in here, treating the ore and the metals would fall, the heavier metals would fall to the bottom, and they'd be able to clear these out. These were definitely some kind of tank with some type of chemical in them, because these concrete walls are definitely eating away pretty good. And it looks like there was some type of a sealed door on them. And it's about 70 yards long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different little compartments. If you look beyond these tanks, right up there is a retaining wall. So all these mounds here are definitely tailings. So always keep an eye out for evidence. I would say that this is definitely early on mining, probably after the turn of the century. This is formed up, so I'm thinking 50s. And then the returning miners in the 70s or 80s came back with all this PV stuff, and we're using these as storage areas. Oh yeah, you can see where the doors were. These are hinge structures. That door probably closed in just like this, and they probably had some type of sealant. See that gray stuff? They probably sealed whatever the doors were made out of, probably steel, to those columns. Well, I found an old tire to sit down and give my back a rest here. Yeah, you look at the vista up here, and it is just absolutely beautiful. Really beautiful part of Arizona. For sure, this place deserves some more exploration, but there's literally miles of roads just in this one site. I had a little bit more hope for this level up here, but it's about the same. We found our water tank up there. The only thing I see down here are fiberglass tanks, and those look almost like, I'm sure that's what they were using for chemicals or maybe water storage, but those and that one over there almost look like STI P3, I think, oil tanks that are gas tanks, diesel tanks that you would see in like a gas station, or for number 2 fuel oil for a boiler plant, that kind of thing. There may be a portal around here, but looking around for a very, very long time, and before the 1980s folks showed up, this was all, it's not really a strip mine, but I guess you would call it placer mining. They are taking surface rock, surface sediment off, and going through that and finding their minerals, their gold and silver, and especially what they were looking for here is copper. There's definitely a greenish, bluish hue to a lot of the rocks that are uncovered up there. And like I said, you can just see for miles of roads that just switch back up these hills, go all along here. There's roads up at the top of that. There's roads that go over there, and they just keep going and going and going. There's no way I could do this on foot in one day, and especially the shape that I'm in. But definitely an interesting site, and more to come on future videos. Smoothies, anyone? Well, I'm heading over to get back on the bike. I'm going to down me a water, and we are going to head on out of here. Well, I've downed the bottle of water, and we've completed our little exploration of the Continental mine. I appreciate you watching. Thanks for watching. Adios.